So, the literary term I'm going to talk about today is anaphora. So, what is anaphora? Here's an example. Early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Why is that anaphora? Anaphora is a repetition of a word or group of words at the beginning of successive sentences, or clauses or phrases or lines in a poem. So when I said early to bed, early to rise, I'm repeating early to bed, early to rise. These are phrases, so I'm repeating early to in two successive phrases. Early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Early to bed, early to rise. That's anaphora. It's very common. If you pay attention to it, you'll see it all over the place. Advertisers use it constantly, and one reason they use anaphora is because it makes what you're saying very easy to remember, and it sticks in your mind. Here's a couple examples from advertising of anaphora. Here's Pepsi, one of Pepsi's ads. Zero sugar, zero compromise. The repetition of zero. Zero sugar, zero compromise. Here's one advertising Costa Express coffee, advertising for the coffee. Repetition of the word real. Real milk, real beans, real quick. And these successive phrases. Real milk, real beans, real quick. It's hard to forget. Here's one advertising from Volkswagen. So much tech, so easy to use. The repetition of so much tech, so easy to use. So that's what anaphora is. It's repetition. Repetition, that's what basically, it's a form of repetition at the beginning of successive sentences, phrases, or clauses. Be bold. Be brief. Be gone. The repetition of be. Here's one using the repetition of get. Get busy, or of get busy. Get busy living, or get busy dying. Get busy living or get busy dying. Once you've heard that sentence, and it's easy to not forget it, right? Because of anaphora. Be busy living or be busy dying. Here's one from Patrick Henry. The repetition of give me. Give me liberty or give me death. A lot of anaphora is used in sayings that common sense sayings, or advice, words of wisdom, observations on life. Here's one. The repetition of you're damned if. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. That's anaphora. And it sticks in our minds. We don't forget it. Here's one of so, the repetition of so. So many places, so little time. Here's one of advice. The repetition of stay. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy. Here's one from Kennedy, and everyone knows this one. It's the repetition of ask. Ask not what you can do. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. The repetition of ask. Here's another example of anaphora. Monkey see, monkey do. Here's one. A repetition of fool me, Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Anaphora was used by Martin Luther King in many times in his letter from Birmingham jail, his Let Freedom Ring speech. In his speech, he had different sentences beginning with, I have a dream. I have a dream that, and he continues it, that someday blacks and whites will be together on an equal basis. I have a dream. I have a dream. That's anaphora. And in that case, it leads to not only easy to remember, but it also leads to, it's very emotional. It leads to the intensity of what he's saying. So that's anaphora. In the Bible, there are many examples in the Bible. For example, Genesis 1. The very first chapter of Genesis is structured in terms of anaphora. Well, how is that the case? Well, after God creates the heavens and the earth, verse 3 says, Then God said, let there be light. Verse 5, then God said, let there be a firmament. Verse 9, then God said. So there's repetition of then God said goes throughout all of Genesis 1. That's anaphora. That's a good example of anaphora. The Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. That's anaphora. In the Psalms, for example, the Psalms are full. I'll give you an example. Psalm 13. I was just looking at this. If you look at the Psalms, you'll find anaphora all over the place. It's a poetic device. Psalm 13 is an example. Here's an example of anaphora. Psalm 13. Starts out this way, a repetition of how long in verses 1 and 2. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? Repetition of how long. In Psalm 9, we get the repetition of why do you? Why do you stand afar off, O Lord? Why do you hide in times of trouble? In Psalm 9, repetition of I will praise you, O Lord, with my whole heart. I will tell of your marvelous works. I will be glad and rejoice in you. I will sing praise to your name. So the 4 repetitions of I will. Another good example from the Bible of anaphora is in the Beatitudes in Matthew 5 of blessed, where Jesus, the blesseds. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are, it keeps getting repeated at the beginning of sentences. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst. Blessed are the merciful, and so on. Repetition, that's anaphora. And also in the very same Beatitudes, the second part of that couplet goes, the first couplet goes, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And so as you go through the Beatitudes, it's composed of couplets. Blessed are, and then it'll say, for they. So you get the repetition of for. For theirs is the kingdom of God. For they shall be comforted. For they shall inherit the earth. For they shall be filled. Okay, that's anaphora. So, you could go on and on and on giving examples of anaphora. But the basic point, again, and I will stop at this point, is anaphora is the repetition of words, a word or words at the beginning of sentences, successive sentences, phrases, or clauses. The final thing, I'll quote here's one from it's kind of like a poem, I guess. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. Here's anaphora for want of a. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, The horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. And all for the loss of a horseshoe nail. That's anaphora. For want of a. Okay, so now you know what anaphora is. When you read, when you listen to other people, when you read poetry, when you listen to speeches, pay attention to anaphora. Again, anaphora is repetition. It's a repetition of words at the beginning of successive sentences, phrases, or clauses. And one way to just keep this, I'll give you one example to keep in mind. The one I started with. Early to bed, early to rise. Makes a man wealthy, healthy, and wise. Early to bed, early to rise. Repetition of early. That's anaphora. Advertisers use it. Politicians use it all the time in speeches. The reason is it's memorable and it appeals to the emotions. It's a form of rhetoric, persuasion. It makes what you say memorable. A lot of famous quotations from great thinkers use anaphora, and sayings that we remember use anaphora. Early to bed, early to rise. Right? Okay. Now you know what anaphora is. And that's one literary term. Then I will talk about many other literary terms. That's it.